So much pressure. No, it's all good. How you guys doing? Fantastic. So basically, I just wanted to simply show you how to import X and Y coordinate data and plot it over a shapefile, which you could get from GIS. And the other important part I'm going to show you is that if you want to actually extract data from that shapefile, so say you have X and Y points and you have an underlying layer that shows the vegetation, and you want to extract the vegetation type from each of those points, I'm going to show you how to do that. Decidedly, this is a little bit less intuitive than GIS, but it's also really powerful, and hopefully it will help you guys out. So the first thing we're going to do is just import our data. I have right here our site coordinates. So our plot IDs right here, and then we have our lat and our long. And then I'm also going to just basically pull out just the coordinates, the X and the Y coordinates, and you'll see why later. And so this part right here, this GeoCRS object I'm creating right here, this that's highlighted in green right here, basically it defines your coordinate system. So the WGS84, if you've taken GIS before, WGS stands for World Geographic System, and it just basically is telling you the coordinates that define like your projection and your coordinate system on Earth. If you remember from GIS, if you have taken GIS, there's different ways you can have a curved surface like the Earth projected onto a flat surface on a map. So this is important. Don't worry about the specifics, but these basically define your X and Y coordinates in R. And you can find these on a website. I don't have a list of all of them, but you'll notice that it says projections is long lat, and we have our points in X, Y, so it needs to be consistent with the coordinate system that your points are in. That's the real point that I wanted to make. And so now that we have our X and Y data and we have our coordinate system, we're going to actually create a spatial points data frame. And so this is basically just to make your data spatial. And if you'll see this function right here, spatial points data frame, if we type that in, that's in our SP file, which stands for spatial points. And so we'll run that, and then we'll plot our points, see what we got here. And so those are the points we have so far. And I'll actually bring in my shape file next. So if you have something in GIS and you want to export it, you can. Just make sure that something like a shapefile has multiple files associated with it. So there's something like, I think 5+ files associated with it, and it's really important that when you actually call on this to import your layer, that you have the name correct and you have all the files there. Otherwise, it'll mess everything up. So this UTM right here, I put that there as UTM is another coordinate system. It stands for Universal Transverse Mercator. And this CRS function, we're defining the coordinate system that our shapefile is in. So I know that because I got it from GIS, and I could look in the properties what coordinate system it was. And again, I'm going to be saying this over and over again throughout this demo, that coordinate systems are extremely important, because if you don't have the right one, then you're not going to map things over themselves correctly, and you're not going to get the correct data if you want to pull that data off the layer. So this is the coordinate system which that layer was in. I'm going to run this. And so now that, if you'll notice, I have one coordinate system for my x and y data, right? And then I have another coordinate system for my layer, but I'm going to want to put them in the same coordinate system so I can accurately plot the points over the layer. So,
You need to run 21 and 22.
okay, didn't do that. Sorry. Oh, it's taking a whole time. What the heck? Zoom? Oh, there it goes. Thank God. I was like, geez. Okay. So yeah, these are the sites that I worked on over summer. You'll notice that there's a lot of little polygons in here, and so these are actually broken up into what are called ecological sites, and ecological sites for the purpose of this, it just kind of shows land potential or like what type of vegetation might grow there. And so I wanted to pull out what ecological site that my plots are in, and that's what we're going to be doing here, like I mentioned at the beginning. We already ran that. So, like I was saying before, now that we have defined our coordinate systems for the points and then for my shapefile, I want to put both of them into the same coordinate system. And technically I could convert them, convert the shapefile to the coordinate system that the XY points are in, but I'm going to convert them to another one because in this case I wanted it to be both in UTM. So important thing, I'm converting them to the same coordinate system. So I'm going to run that. And the function that you use here is called a spatial transform, and that spatial transform converts your coordinates to a new coordinate system. And so, yeah, Lake? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll answer questions at the end. And so now I want to plot my points. Plot my shapefile. And so this is just showing my ecological sites. Haven't plotted the points just yet. It's a really messy legend, but don't worry about that. All right, so that looks good. You want your points to be plotted on the, if the points aren't plotting on your shapefile, then you know that there's automatically a problem. So this is looking good. And the last part of this demo, I'm just going to show how to extract the information under those points from the shapefile. And this function that we're using called over is in the SP file. SP package. So this over function, you have to specify my sites, which are the points, and also the eco sites, which is the shapefile. So I'm pulling the information from the shapefile and then transfer them to the points. And the order in which those are in is important. If you take in GIS, if you did it the other way around, then you'd be pulling information, I guess, from the shapefile to the points. But yeah, I don't want to confuse you guys too much. So we're going to run that. And then if you take a look at this, it is just like, it's some crazy stuff. I remember when I first saw this, I was like, I don't even know what some of this stuff means. Like you see all these SW typing I don't know what these columns actually mean right here. And it's like it just was confusing to me. And the main thing that was worrisome to me is that like, oh gosh, where are my like plot IDs? Because my plot IDs are nowhere to be seen. And so to basically get your plot IDs, like the data from here, your coordinate information, to join up with the data from your ecological sites, you have to do this other function called SPC bind. So it's a spatial column bind, and a column bind basically takes columns from a separate, two separate files and then smashes them together, just combines them. And so we're going to run that, and then you'll notice the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this back into a data frame, because unfortunately when you do a spatial cbind, it doesn't have it in a data frame. So like a data frame is pretty much a spreadsheet. And so now we'll look at this new join we have, and you'll see right here on the left that now that I have my plot ID information right here, whereas in that the last spreadsheet I showed you, we didn't have that. So that's how you take out the info. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to show you guys today. So I'll open that up to questions. Mara, do you want me to shut anything off?